for myself, when I faced homelessness for 2 years, I was constantly questioning what I should do, where I should go. Should I go back to familiarity and comfort? Should I go back to my country town? Or should I keep pushing? And it was when I read this book, I learned many things about who I am and what it takes to be the success that I saw in my mind. I was living in Brisbane at the time and things were getting really tough. Coronavirus was coming and I was giving myself an ultimatum. Either give up my career now and switch to something else, or I continue to push forward. I decided to push forward and I ended up moving to Sydney, an even bigger city with more challenges, more expenses, and I knew that I'd likely face more defeats. When I got to Sydney, I had to reintegrate with a new community. They trained differently, they looked at life differently, and a lot of them were busy with work, so they didn't have time to train like I did. After many months, I eventually got settled into a routine, training every day, and it was then that I started to see the fruits of the difficulty I'd been through. I ended up meeting with world champions in the industry. It became regular for me to hang out with people that were the biggest influences around. I found myself constantly challenged in even more difficult ways, but through that challenge, I was actually learning more and more skills at a faster rate. A good example that comes to mind is Dominic Tomasio. He showed me how to do a front flip precision, which is where you do a front flip and you land on an object precisely. It means that you can hold your balance once you finish. If I hadn't taken the leap of faith and moved to Sydney, I would never have learnt this skill. I later used that skill in competition and ended up winning because of it. But along with that success, more demons surrounded. There was more drug use, there was more crime, and I felt myself getting sucked more and more into the trap of fake dopamine instead of the real dopamine. Drug use was at an all-time high. The people I looked up to were making bad choices for themselves, and it was at this point where I had to start thinking for myself. I knew I wanted longevity in the sport, and I knew I had to make sacrifices. I stopped partying, I stopped doing drugs, and I got locked in. I could see myself growing faster than anyone else, simply because I was putting more time and attention into the industry. I eventually got to a point where no one could keep up with me anymore, and if it wasn't for those sacrifices, I would have never been the success that I saw in my mind.